Hey YouTube, out for another ride on my 125. I'm coming out to do a trail or trails I've tried to do twice now. It's a really good trail for this little machine. I think it's more roads. It's a 2-track. What it does, it comes off this mesa we're on, drops down here below us. You can kind of see the fork, and you can just kind of make a big loop. I've gone to do the loop and get down to this end. You can see what a drainage it is. We'd had a huge rainstorm, and where it filters out there in the end of that valley was just nothing but a big mud flat. I couldn't even find where it came out, so I'd done a big loop and had to turn around and come back. So I explored down it as far as I dared on this bike, and then had to come back. So I'm still wanting to do an entire loop, and I did it with the 15-tooth sprocket, which is pretty interesting. Down through here is pretty hairy, actually. Some seriously washed out draws and a lot of sand, big rocks. It's a little overkill for this bike, especially the tires, at least the stock tire. But I think it's a good example of what you can do on this dude. I've returned to the 14-tooth sprocket, and it's just so much better to do this kind of stuff. No doubt about it. Whole nother subject, but I think generally Honda nailed it with the sprocket. And the other thing I did, and I'm going to probably update some video footage, is I've installed the YSS kit and on the fork, and have never been happy with it. It just bottoms constantly, makes loud clunking noise, and the bike kind of did that before I installed it, but I did it almost the first month I had the bike, so my memories of what it was like stock are kind of foggy. So what I just did, and I'm going to post a video about installing the YSS kit, and some of this might make more sense as far as the springs and the little valve that comes in the kit and things. But what I ended up doing just now is I took out all of the YSS kit and dropped the stock components back in, but I kept the preload adjusters. They're totally out all the way. I believe they're still deeper than the stock cap, so it's still giving it a little preload. And compared to yesterday, this thing so much quieter. Kind of takes the fun out of riding it, because you feel like you're beating on the bike, and I mean, I'm really not. I'm riding it like a trail bike. I mean, I tend to go too fast once in a while, but just the littlest bumps, you just hear a clunk. And it's remarkable how much different it is already, just with the stock spring back in it. So we'll see. I got a wrench on me. I might put a little preload on it, see what changes. So we're going to venture down here, see if I can't get stuck. This is the kind of terrain, for instance, with the YSS Spring, just clunk, 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 clunk. I'm still not sure if it's bottoming or rebound. I'm going to ramble about it, so I'll try not to, but the more you play with the YSS kit, the more preload you put on it, it doesn't seem to get better. I don't know how to describe it, but overall I haven't been impressed with it. But it does seem to be doing better with this stock spring in it. And I have 15 weight oil, if that helps anyone. Yeah, it's still, here's some clunking going on. Hopefully the roughness of this terrain comes off on the camera. It's really hard to capture it with the wider angle. Tends to flatten everything and make it look less rugged than it really is. That I find when I get home and look at the video footage, when I shoot it narrow, it's only about 50% of it's even useful. A lot of it's just the view of the dash and the ground. This is the kind of train I just hear constant clunk, clunk, clunk. So it's definitely better. The springs are not the same, and you wouldn't expect them to be, right? It's an upgrade. But the funny thing is the actual spring wire diameter is thinner on the YSS Spring than it is on the stock spring. And I'm no mechanical engineer, but I would think that would translate to a softer spring, not a stiffer one. But then there's other components as well. I mean, somebody obviously engineered it and thought it was the solution, but it makes you wonder how well engineered it really is. I had a thought, the more I looked them both over and compared them, that maybe if you could just buy this preload adjuster, that's all you need. And so far today, I don't know that my theory's that far off. Seems to be working. Working better, I should say. It's such a fun little bike. You just, at least me, I keep pushing the envelope of what it's designed to do. So I just want it to be better. I want it to have more top speed. I want the suspension to be better. Blah, blah, blah. The seat to be better. Probably just need to shut up and enjoy it for what it is and quit criticizing it. Or nitpicking it. I don't see it as criticism. Maybe I'm obsessive and compulsive. Maybe I just see it as, let's make it better, you know. But it does kind of wear on you to think that way all the time. Constantly need to improve everything. It's kind of exhausting. It's the kind of little gullies. See, that would have clunked yesterday. One thing I do forget about, and here I go again nitpicking it, is when you ride it day after day or for long distances in this kind of rough terrain, is the rear end just, after a while my back is just, I think it's only 4 inches, 3.8, something like that. So I don't know how much you could ever expect it to perform, but you're really curious to upgrade the rear shocks, come out on these kind of roads, compare. It's just this constant kick in the ass you're feeling. First day or first few hours, you're having so much fun you don't feel it, but after a while you do. So we made it to the first road. It's this next section that I say, I couldn't even find it. The rain because during the monsoon part of the year, July, August, the rain it just ripped through there. And I don't know if you're familiar with the desert, this kind of desert, high desert. The ground doesn't really absorb the water, it runs off, and so there's lots of erosion, which is why they tell you to stay on the damn trail out here. But I digress, I'm getting into all that. But so when it rains hard, the water level will go from, you know, inches to feet really quickly. And I think that's what happened here is, well, I'll show you, I think, well, we'll see. See if we can find it. It's a oil-filled road, lots and lots of oil-filled rigs and trucks, heavily used, so it's really rough. Kind of impressed with the fork compared to the YSS kit. Something about it just feels, the front end just feels more solid and planted. How to describe it? It shouldn't be surprising that the stock spring would feel and perform better than some aftermarket crap that who knows how well it was thought out. I've never been a big fan of modifying things just for that reason, especially Hondas. Never seemed worth the trade-off, like all the mods for the motors on these little bikes. Ooh, a little sketchy. There has to be a reliability trade-off with those motor mods. And to me, that sort of flies in the face of why you buy a Honda. To each their own. That's just me. Really feel the rear end on this rough stuff. My back's had enough for one weekend, I think. I'm 5'11", and my fingers are still, feels like they're being, you know, pulled out of my hands when I stand up. I'm still too tall for it, generally. Even with the bar risers, it's better, but it's still a little bike. I think this must be it. Well, you can see the mud track. Somebody's been in here. So this is where it would have dumped out. Looks like it's dried out enough that I'm gonna get stuck, maybe. The sand, on the other hand, so I stopped right on top of this one. Decided to not take a chance. Here we go. So keep in mind, the last time I did this, I had the 15-tooth sprocket on through all of this. You know, so the comments that the stock gearing is worthless off-road, I just don't buy it. I guess it depends on what you're doing off-road, but of course a lot of it is momentum, like this kind of stuff. But I think they put the gears just about where they should be for the way they tune the motor. Seem to be picking my line well today at all. I mean, I suck, but I usually don't suck this bad. I don't know about some of you, if you it's a no-brainer that it would do something like that, but for me it's, I don't know, somehow it feels, I do something like that and then I look at what I did it on, and I don't know, I feel like somehow I've pushed it beyond what it's supposed to do, and it's just more satisfying somehow than, you know, if I was on my 300 or something like that, pushing a littler bike maybe beyond its scope, I think just is more satisfying to me. I still go back and forth between selling it or not, because I had more adventurous travel in mind with it, and the road performance is such that I don't know that that's going to happen. Hopefully more to come. It's a fun little bike. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Appreciate you watching.